All right, let's look at a little bit more insight on this. We're joined by Cyrus Walker, cybersecurity expert and founder of managing principal at Data Defenders, and Andrea Vazana, clinical psychologist from NYU Langone Health. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Cyrus, let's start with you. Texas has introduced legislation to ban social media for all Texans under the age of 18. So, if passed, how exactly is that going to be enforced? Is it as simple as just taking it out of the Apple Store, making it not even downloadable in the first place?
That's the best way to execute that ban. The other way to do that is to require age information for users who are looking to set up new accounts. So those are generally the two ways to stop children under the age of 18 from installing the application. Actually, there's a third way, and that's to require parents to actually set up these accounts on behalf of children of 18. And that way you can also implement that ban.
So, Andrea, one lawmaker in Texas referred to social media, and this is a really kind of takes you back kind of description, as a pre-1964 cigarette, meaning that it was thought to be safe at first. Oh, use it everywhere, smoke in elevators and planes and at your desk. Okay.
While you're pregnant.
Or while you're pregnant, and not back a bottle of Jack, it'll be fine. Okay, but as a clinical psychologist, is that a fair comparison? Or are we right now, and very young kids, and even many of us as adults, messing with fire right now, and in 30 years going to be like, oh my God, what were we thinking?
Well, we're certainly doing research in that regard. We're still kind of trying to find out. We know that TikTok has become incredibly popular since the start of COVID. It's the #1 app among adolescents and youth. And we know that that's a vulnerable population. The studies that we've seen so far have indicated that there are negative effects on sleep. And in part, we know that, the algorithm of TikTok is designed to prolong the user's use, right? And so kids kind of get on these apps. It's a hard time getting off of the apps. And so it's interfering with sleep, certainly. But we also know that it is associated with increased rates of depression and anxiety and lowered self-esteem. So that kids who are using TikTok are more likely to engage in social comparisons, and they're more likely to have a fear of missing out. And also there tends to kind of be a feeling that the people who are creating these TikTok videos aren't really people. They're more like spectacles, and hence they're more likely to be mocked and bullied and criticized, which of course doesn't feel great for the creator, but also kind of creates a culture of a lack of empathy, and that it's okay to objectify other people, right? Other people's appearance and other people's actions. And so there's certainly a lot of things to be concerned about with TikTok, and especially for young users who might not have the judgment and the capacity to critically analyze the messages that they're seeing, or even be aware that they're seeing sometimes certain kinds of propaganda or ads or activities that perhaps they should be kind of thinking more about.
That's exactly what I was talking to my mom about last night. Almost exactly that, was that younger people, they just don't have the foresight to understand that this, what you're seeing online on social media, is not the end all be all. There is so much life after that, and outside of that, there's just no fortitude there to understand that. So it can be very, very dangerous. And then it's not just young people. It's my age, your age, all ages. We can kind of get wrapped into it. So Cyrus, back over to you. The Indiana lawsuit accuses TikTok in particular of making misleading claims about kids' safety and China's access to the data on the platform. I can imagine parents out there hearing all this now are like, right. Well, wait a minute now. I did not sign up for this. From a security perspective, though, does TikTok present a greater danger to kids over other social media sites? Is there anywhere that if we do want to let our kids on social media, that there is a little bit safer when it comes to national security?
So from a consumer security and national security perspective, two different considerations. Mm-hmm. From a consumer security perspective, it's all about how you use it. You need to think about social media as a gun. There are positive uses to it and there are negative uses to it. Interesting to note that the version that's used here in the U.S. is very much different than the version that's used in China. They're much more greater usage and privacy restrictions enabled on the Chinese version than there is on the U.S. version. And also note that someone is going to find some way to use these kinds of technologies for their own nefarious and devious purposes. So parents should be very concerned from a child's perspective on how they use it, who they're communicating with, how long they're using it, so forth and so on. It's going to require that parental guidance to ensure that security, but they should know that there is a security concern because there are people with nefarious purposes using these technologies. Now, from a national security perspective, the data exfiltration and gleaning feature from not only TikTok, but from all social media platforms is how these platforms work. They're designed to collect and share information. And no government computer, whether it's a government device, whether it's a state, local, or federal government device, should have any kind of social media application running on it because it's designed to collect information. It's designed to share information. And again, governments like China are going to be using these applications for their own spy purposes, if you will, to collect this information. So the states are right to ban it. The feds are right to ban it. They should have done it a long time ago. This alarm bell about TikTok was sounded about 4 or 5 years ago, and how deep they get into the mobile device to collect information and send back to central repositories. So it should have been banned a long time ago, but I'm glad it's finally happening now.
You know, the one thing you always hear people complain about, everyday people, is that, you know, you Google something or you search for something and all of a sudden, all those ads pop up on your feed.
You have to talk about
Just
it.
talk about it. And it's creepy. It's trippy, and it happens all the time. So to your point, imagine if you get creeped out on an individual level, imagine China doing that to us on a national level. If it creeps you out to see that, you know,
something I
Colgate ad on your brain, then imagine, you know, so again, to put it from an individual and broaden it out perspective. So Andrea, in light of all of that, I'm curious on two things. Is there a consensus about the appropriate age? I have a 3-year-old at home who loves watching videos of, you know, Paw Patrol and Bluey and all that good stuff. But eventually he's going to be like, oh, what's this TikTok thing, this Facebook thing and all of that? Is there an age or is it very individual? And two, what do you think this addiction to social media says about our culture, big picture, that we all just scroll through Twitter and Facebook and Gram and do all this all day? Where are we culturally with all this stuff?
So, you know, it's interesting that if you go on the app itself, if you were to download it from Apple, it actually does say that the app is designed for ages 12 and up. And certainly we know that, you know, a lot of people who are younger than that are accessing this either on their own phones or on their parents' phones. A third of users, of U.S. users at least, are under 18 who are using TikTok. So that's a tremendous number of people. And you do wonder what other activities is this displacing, right? So, you know, what are you doing? What were you doing before TikTok with the time that you spent on TikTok? Right, because it takes so much time now, and yet that time is being used maybe for more productive means in the past. What does it say about our culture? I think it says that just like might be expected, there are behavioral patterns that we get sucked into, that we're not immune to these types of algorithms that are really designed to prolong our use, that there have been a lot of, you know, maybe good research done on what keeps a person on a site longer, and that we are not immune to those types of variables and factors, right? So we're not immune to wanting to be liked by others, that perhaps we are, you know, putting too much stock in trying to get other people to like us these days, that has become something that's you know, more important to our culture today, in part because of the like button, right? Or even the dislike button. So we really want to be careful about that. There's also a lot of misinformation that's spread on these types of sites as well. So there was a study done that said even though there's great mental health awareness now that occurs as a result of these apps, that about half of the information that's presented is actually incorrect. So, we're susceptible to these, to the messages that we see. Maybe we're a little gullible in believing them, and need to kind of pull back a little bit and think about, again, like these messages that we're seeing, learning how to deconstruct the media that we see, to think about who is putting this out, why are they putting this out, and what message are they trying to give me, and do I want to buy into that or not?
Depending on how young you are, you have no clue.
Right.
I mean, this is happening. Depending on how young you are.
And also, I think it's made people incredibly self-involved and narcissistic. If you already have a lot of ego, social media is crack.
No, absolutely. All right, Cyrus Walker and Andrea.
I want to add one more thing.
10 seconds.
To the point that was made about the mysterious ads popping up. So these social media apps do turn on your microphones. They do access your cameras, so they are watching you in every aspect of your life. Turn it off.
Ooh, Jesus. All right. How's that?
Yeah. Please come back, man. I got a lot of follow-up questions. Maybe
Thank you guys so much.
Riveting conversation. Thank